One, check. One, two, we're here. What's up?
Nothing much, just chilling in my apartment. Is that coffee?
Oh yeah, just pressing the French press.
Yeah. I
Get
just had
rolling.
tea.
Oh, you're drinking tea?
Yeah, as I said, super Irish, tea. Yeah. I drink it so
Colleen.
much. Yes.
Colleen O'Donnell in the house,
Yeah.
aka Seint Monet.
Mhm.
Are you Seint Monet?
Um, I think partly. I feel like Seint Monet is very like prestige and posh and everything. And I'm like in real life, I'm like super awkward sometimes. And like I don't know what to do with my hands. Like I'm just but yeah, I feel like there are parts of me that I incorporate into Saint Monet, but not all the way. No.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Is it a project that other people are involved in, or at the end of the day, is it you are the artist, everyone else is like collaborating with your artistry?
It's very much like Saint Monet is very much a team. That's how we all view it because there are just so many people who have been with us from the beginning and who like have joined halfway through and stuff. Like originally it was me and my manager Matt who used to live in Belmont or live in Nashville and go to Belmont and everything. Him and I just started it kind of on a whim, and then things grew and people got interested.
Yeah.
And so now, I mean, there's so many people who are part of it. Like, I mean, I consider my parents a part of it too, because it's just,
Hmm.
I wouldn't be able to do it without them or anything either.
That's cool. Your family lives in New Jersey? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
And that's where you're from?
yeah. I'm from Jersey, and then moved to Nashville 4 years ago. But yeah, Jersey's super cool. Have you ever been?
I've played, I think once or twice. I played in Cape May once, which I know is
Okay.
like pretty, maybe that's kind of far, like south. I don't know. Of in New Jersey, I don't know. What part are you from?
So I'm from Rockaway, which is, everyone's like 40 minutes from the city. That's how we tell people so they can like
Yeah.
kind of picture it. But yeah, I'm from Rockaway. It's like suburban Jersey town. And yeah, I mean, Cape May is definitely more like considered the shore and stuff. But
Yeah.
super cool place. Yeah.
Is
Love the
Rockaway like that's like where the Ramones song is from and all that? Like Rockaway Beach? Is that the same place?
I don't think it's that place because Rockaway,
Dang.
yeah, because Rockaway, like, love Rockaway, but first off, don't think that anyone would write a song about it. Second, it's no beach. There's no beaches in Rockaway. It's just like a lake. So,
Yeah, right.
no.
That's
That would be
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Um, you grew up there playing piano,
Yeah.
right? You were trained and like practiced piano for years and years growing up. Is that true?
Yeah, it is true. So originally, before I moved to Nashville, I was dead set on being a classical pianist. Like that was all I wanted to do. And then, I went to a different college for a semester. I went to a college in Pennsylvania called Westchester University. And as soon as I got there, originally I wasn't even like in love with the thought of going there, but I was just, for some reason, there was something holding me back from like going all out with my classical piano career. So I was like, Westchester is good school and it's 2 hours from home. And so settled on that. And then my first semester there, like within the first week, I was like, yeah, this is definitely not what I want to do with my life. Like I love classical piano, but so much more as a hobby. And it was super weird because I hadn't even been writing songs at that point. Like I got a late start.
Really?
Yeah, I started writing at Westchester because I was so I was just kind of so bored with the work that I had for my actual piano classes that like most of the time I spent in the practice rooms, I was just like writing songs and stuff. And yeah, that's how I got my start with it.
Wow. And then
Yeah.
so are you in school here in Nashville now?
Yeah, I have 2 semesters left at Belmont, so I'm so close, so close
Wow. Are you
to
gonna finish?
done.
Are you gonna be able to finish?
I think so. I'm like, honestly, even though the online school kind of sucks, like it kind of happened at the perfect time because now I can like, work remotely and
Yeah.
focus on and try to, balance everything. So I'm hoping, I don't know what's going to happen for next semester, who knows, but if
Yeah,
it's
right.
online, that would help too because I know like once things open back up, I have so many places that I have to go for things, and so I'm determined to finish because I'm so close that it's like, want to get that diploma and just, be done with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. That's cool. That's inspiring. Good on you. So I'm this project,
Yeah.
Saint Monet.
Mhm.
I found out about you and your tribe like I guess 3 weeks ago. Maybe I think August 7th is when your first single came out, right? That's when Bloom
Yeah.
dropped.
Hmm.
Um, and I found out then more recently your song, what is it called?
32 degrees.
32 Degrees. That's right. Which both songs are really awesome.
Oh,
I
thanks.
started listening to them. What I was going to say is because through Daniel Cheney, who has
Yeah.
always been my favorite like photographer in town, and
Yeah.
then I saw that he was working with you, and I was just like, wow, I've never heard of this artist before. So I've been listening to them. I guess over the last like 2 weeks, been listening like Bloom and 32 Degrees. Both songs are really cool. I feel like they're cohesive, but they're a little bit different from each other.
Thank you. That is the whole like point of what we're doing because well, side note, Daniel Cheney, just shout out to him because he is so freaking amazing. Like him and then
Totally.
Kat, his girlfriend who does the styling,
Yeah,
they are
Kat.
they're next level. Like I've been a fan of them since I moved to Nashville, and like I remember our first shoot, I was so nervous that I barely talked because I was such a big fan of them and everything. But like, yeah, they're very much like a reason why this has been going so well. It's because they're just like insane. But
That's
yeah.
really cool. That's cool that you have gotten to work with them so closely. And the stuff y'all are doing together looks so sick.
Oh
It's
yeah,
so
and like,
fresh.
dude, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And like we love the stuff we've been putting out. We have so much more to put out. And then I mean, we just have so many ideas for the future, some that we've already done and like some that we're like working on doing. So it's just there's gonna be so much more content. But yeah, in terms of like
That's cool.
cohesive but different, that's the whole point of like all of the music that we're doing because like I'm a huge fan of so many different types of genres. I mean, I started off writing soul pop, and I very much would say that I'm sticking to that lane somewhat, but I've just been honestly like, I feel like I know my sound enough to the point where I can be weird with it in different ways and kind of still experiment, especially being a new independent artist. I have that space to like, say, let's just try this and see how people react to it. So I'm really glad that you feel that way. I'm so glad.
Yeah, totally. I totally think, and I think it's more fun a lot of times, especially like you said, when you're like, we're all so young and it's just, let's just try a bunch of stuff out and keep it fresh. And I mean, even if you're 60 years old too, you can do it, but just, having fun, expressing yourself in different ways. That's the only way you're really going to figure out like what you want to create, I feel like.
It's so true. And it's just like, I mean, you know, artists like let's take Lady Gaga for example, she has reinvented herself and her sound I feel like so many times, and I think it's super cool because it's still obviously very much her. Like like on the radio, as soon as you hear her voice, it's her. And even
Yeah.
just like some of the production elements and like the lyric and the melodies and everything, it's her. But you could take her album Joanne and then Chromatica, and they're completely different worlds, but they're all her. So that's
Yeah,
definitely the vibe. Yeah.
totally. I've always loved following whether it's a pop artist or even
Yeah.
sometimes artists like rock and maybe like even folk who can
Ooh,
like
yeah.
reinvent themselves every album
Hmm.
in fresh ways, like kind of changing genre, trying out new styles, always being willing to take those risks, whether it's like Lady Gaga or like even like Bob Dylan, just like people
Yeah,
who are just continue to be innovators in their art, you know?
it's so true. And it's like, they do it so like, I'm trying to think of the word, like unforgivingly. Do you understand what I mean?
Totally,
Like with
yes.
Bob Dylan, I mean, when he went from his very much folk persona to that kind of rock and was using some like in the box production elements, people were like, so, there were some people who were like, oh my gosh, like this is terrible. What are you doing and stuff? But he was just like, it's still me and everything. And
Yeah, right.
yeah, so I think that's really admirable of artists who just like are like, yo, screw it, I'm doing what I think is right.
Yeah, right. So,
Yeah.
so for you, was there, you said you started writing
Mhm.
your first semester of college.
Yeah.
Is this like these two songs you've put out? Are these the first songs you've ever released, or did you have projects before this
Oh.
that you've like kind of tucked away now as you're releasing these new songs?
So these are the first songs I've ever released. And
Whoa.
yeah, it was definitely, it was hard waiting because, especially when you come to Nashville, there's so many artists and everything, so many talented artists, and you're like, you want to release and you want people to hear your music, but also I was I was just I knew that first before I had to release, I had to figure out my brand and I had to figure out my sound and like just study musicians who inspire me and like what about them inspires me and what production elements I like and what production elements I definitely don't like. And so it was hard waiting. And there was a split second where I was going to release a song in December. And I probably still am going to release that song at some point. But I was just, something was telling me to just like hold off for like just a few more months, just to hold off, because I feel like there will be a song that's going to come in the few months coming that I'll listen to and I'll know that it's going to be the song that I want to release and everything. And so thankfully that happened. But
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So it's very new to me. Yeah.
That's cool. So I think that approach is really interesting to me. You felt like you needed to spend some time just like figuring out, as you said, like your brand or like an aesthetic to help, as with the music and also the visuals and everything. it,
Yeah.
it seems to you, like to me, that what you do is not just the music, like it's a whole thing that you can experience with music videos and like photo shoots and a style and an idea, and it's all happening and hitting you at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. I remember, so Matt and I have been working together for over a year now, but I remember when he first like approached me, he was just asking if he could do like mock management for me because he was starting up his management company 610, and I was like, sure. And so I remember the first thing he asked was like, what's your brand? And I was like, oh, it's vintage. And he was like, no, everyone's vintage, especially in Nashville. And so I remember he was just like, figure out your brand. And I had no idea what that meant because, it's hard. Like, you think, oh, my brand is just like what I wear. But that's like, I feel like there's so much more to it. So I literally like, it took me it took me months to figure out my brand, but then once I solidified it, it made the direction of the music a lot easier actually, because I knew the type of imagery I wanted. I knew what kind of style I wanted for the music videos. And so like a lot of times I make like photo boards, mood boards when I'm writing, and that kind of helps me like finish the song and know, even in terms of melody. And it's, I don't know, it's all psychological, I feel like, but it's just super interesting. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have put as much time into the brand as we have into the music, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. I feel like everybody, whether they know it or not, as a musical artist, are to some extent creating
Mhm.
a brand for themselves. And even ones that would say like, oh, I don't care about the brand, I just want to, do my music. They're still like choosing to wear what they wear on stage
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and perform a certain way and have album covers. I mean, music is, since it's a performative art and it's also an art that has visuals attached to it, whether through a music video or even just an album cover, it really is unavoidable to correlate visuals with the audio, I feel like.
Yeah, it's so true, especially where the industry is going, with all this online content. Putting out just music isn't enough anymore because people want to see your visual direction with your songs. And now with take the VMAs that just happened. I don't know if you like watched them or saw any of the clips, but the performances, obviously, there were no like real audience, but the performances, it seemed like it was a completely different performance than I'd ever seen before. Like Doja Cat's was, it didn't even look like she was on a stage. It looked like she was like literally floating in space and stuff like that. And I was like, this is insane. And it's just, this is just the beginning. Like this is in the stages of all these artists and companies trying to figure all this stuff out. So it's
Yeah.
just crazy. Like I can't even imagine where the music industry is going to go. Like I feel like at some point streaming isn't just going to be the song, it's going to be like all visuals with the song. Even with Spotify, like sometimes you're listening to a song and then they have the
Was it called a canvas, I think?
yes, the canvas, they have that
Hmm.
playing. And so I
Totally.
feel like it's gonna keep evolving to a point of like
Right.
music videos for every single song.
Yeah, and I feel like we kind of just, when we see something like that, like let's say a canvas, we're like, oh, that's interesting,
Yeah.
but we don't realize that's the enormous implication that creates for the entire artist community. Like if we're now allowed to have a, it seems like 3 to 5 seconds or something like
Hmm.
visual, that, I mean, that can transform the whole musical
Yeah.
experience, especially when at least most people I know use Spotify. Like I know
Yeah.
people use other
Hmm.
streaming services, but it seems to be the most popular and the language that's spoken. So I feel like when I saw that, I think it was on Rap Caviar, I noticed every artist had a
Oh,
cool visual. I was like, wow, this is going to change the whole game.
it really is because
It's crazy.
it also kind of, I feel like even if you're someone who isn't a fan of music videos, there are
Right.
times where someone will see that and they'll like the imagery so much they'll go to the full music video too.
Totally,
Because that
totally.
definitely happened with me. I mean, I'm a huge fan of music videos, but there have been times where I had no interest in watching it until like I saw the snippet on the canvas and then I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is super cool. I'm interested to see where it goes." So, yeah, it's definitely going to keep evolving, I think.
Yeah, right. Who are some people that you like to follow that you think are just like artistic innovators when it comes to music and the whole brand and just everything, performance and visuals?
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about big artists or local or either?
I was thinking big, but also if you have any locals, just anyone that you really feel like you're just like, wow, I'm really impressed by these people and their art.
Yeah, well, I mean, right off the bat, I think like everything Dua Lipa's doing is super cool. Just the content she's been putting out, like whether you're a fan of it or not, you have to respect everything that she's doing because obviously like her album was super successful and her music videos were
Totally.
super good, but then she's been putting out like animations which I think are super cool and are thankfully becoming more popular because I think it's super cool to see kind of like a different perspective of the artist. And then also her whole remix of her own album, super super great idea.
Yeah.
That like it's something I never would have thought of because I already see like future nostalgia as I already see it as like a dance album, but then she was like, no, we're making it into a full on like club remix album. So I think,
Right.
yeah, it's just crazy to me. And I know like I saw a tweet or something that she said like she has enough music to last like through the whole next year. So I'm just like,
Whoa.
yeah, that's crazy to me. Like I'm just keeping on the lookout for her definitely because her imageries are great, and I am interested to see if she like stays down this route of, you know, dance and like future basis kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, it's super interesting. So I'm excited to see that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I I love Lawrence the band. Do you know?
No, I don't. I'll have to
Okay,
write that down.
they're yeah, they're super cool. They are very soul pop, funk pop band, and they are signed to John Bellion's label.
Oh,
And
cool.
so they're the first ones that were signed to his label, and I'm not sure if he signed anyone else yet. But
Is it these people?
yeah, so they're yes, that's them. They are a brother
Cool.
sister duo, and
Wow.
yeah, crazy. Their dad is a movie producer, like he did the Miss Congeniality movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And so like their names are Clyde and Gracie, and then Clyde's like he's a classical pianist too, but like turned into, you know, this pop um this pop world, and then Gracie's like a super great singer. But they're just I just love them because they're like unapologetic with
Yeah.
their sound, and they have a very their brand is so New York, and it's just I just love it. I think it's super cool, and their sound is great. They're really bringing back that soul sound, that like funk, you know, they have all their performances have like, you know, brass instruments and everything, and they're also just like it's their performances are super fun and everything. So I'm a huge fan of them. I just also
Yeah.
love that type of music.
That's
So
cool. Do you
yeah.
speaking of that, do you ever see yourself moving to New York City, or is there anywhere else like what is your relationship with Nashville? Do you like it here, and would you want to move somewhere else coming up once you graduate?
Yeah, it's so funny because if you had asked me that question like even a year and a half ago, I would have been like, oh, I'm going straight to New York after this. Because that, you know, growing up in Jersey, I had always gone to New York and I've loved it so much. Like there are certain areas that I love, like Greenwich Village and everything. And it's also close to my family. But now in Nashville, I feel like I feel like I've changed and like my goals have changed and everything. And when I first moved to Nashville, it took me a while to really consider this place home because, you know, I feel like, you know, wherever city you move to, it takes a while to find your people. But now that I'm here, I mean, I love the fact that it's a mix of suburban and city. And I think that if I had started anywhere else, like New York or LA, I wouldn't necessarily be in the same position that I am now. And I feel like it was all, you know, as cheesy as it sounds, it was meant to be. But I feel like at some point I'm gonna move to LA. I'm not sure if it's long term, and it's probably gonna be within the next 2 years. I don't know if it's gonna be long term or just for a year, but you know, every time I've been there, the work that I've been doing, it's just more fast paced, which is what I'm used to. So I want to experience that.
Yeah.
But also, you know, with this whole pandemic, you know, this is all just talk. I couldn't tell you what's gonna happen or anything.
Yeah, I do. I think that Nashville is a good place to like
Yeah,
to start out.
yeah,
Like even if you wind up feeling called somewhere else, I do think it's a place that where there's people who are like willing to collaborate with you and support you that are like the best of the best. You know, let's say someone like Daniel Chaney who you've been able to
yeah,
work with. But those people also seem a little bit more within your reach. And in terms of like championing the city, I feel like Nashville's a city that will lift you up a lot quicker and than you could in like
yeah,
New York or LA, where I feel like if you go there too early, at least this is my personal take, and I know other people would
yeah.
disagree, but that you could get like just consumed and just have a really hard time staying afloat over there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think out of the three major cities, the industry in Nashville is most connected, which I think is super awesome because as you said, it's everyone lifting each other up. And there is competition here, but it's healthy competition. You know, you obviously want some competition because that inspires you to do
Right.
better, but it's not like New York, where my experience with New York is that the music industry is extremely disconnected. And I feel like out of the three cities, New York is the hardest to break into because, you know, it used to be, I feel like, the city to go to, but I think things have changed and it's now, you know, Nashville and LA, depending on what kind of scene you want. So I
Yeah.
am definitely agreeing with you about that.
That's cool. It also just seems like a lot of my friends who live in New York, I feel like their struggle is just paying rent. Like it's so
Yeah.
hard to be an artist and then on top of that have, which I know Nashville is getting there too, but it's just a different game up there.
Oh my gosh. It's the, I mean, like toothpaste is like $8, you know? Like
Yeah,
you
right.
you have to, I mean, I couldn't even imagine. Like there are times where I'm here and I'm just like, okay, am I going to, like, I have to decide between like groceries or music equipment. And there I feel like it's deciding, like it's just a million times worse. I couldn't imagine
Yeah,
having to spend $8 on toothpaste. Like that's
right.
crazy. I mean, I definitely haven't done it before because, you know, I've never like lived in New York. I've definitely spent like a good amount of money on like just very mundane things there. But
Yeah,
imagine like that being your life, like daily. That's, yeah, I, it's crazy.
for real. Last time I was in New York, I played a show and I hit my head super hard and I had to go to like a minute clinic the next day.
Oh,
And it was a very delirious day trying to get around New York. It was like the first time on my own, like riding the subways. I'm like going to a minute
oh,
clinic with a blurry vision. I was just like, dude, this is. It was kind of a crazy experience that made me be like, okay, wow, I don't know. I
and
need
no
to.
one will help you either.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's crazy. So you grew up close to New York City. You moved down here, but in the middle, you said you spent one semester in what?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. So when you were there and you started writing, is that when you decided, yo, I want to move to Nashville and like pursue music? Or did you move to Nashville and then think, okay, maybe I should start putting out my own stuff?
So basically, when I started writing, I I was like, I knew that I was leaving Westchester, and I knew that I had started writing, and I liked this thing that I was doing, and so I was also planning on taking the next semester off to figure out what was going on, and so once I was done at Westchester, I went home and I told my parents that I wanted to major in songwriting, and they were like, my parents have always been so supportive of my music career and everything I do, but they were just like, you spent like 16 years doing classical piano, like this is a very big change. But I like showed them my songs, and looking back, the songs that I showed them, like obviously, you know, first songs that you write, never gonna, usually not a hit, you know. But I showed them my songs and they were like, okay, they're like, let's just look into it and everything. And so I at the time I was set on going to New York. So I applied to NYU's Clive Davis. And as a transfer, they only took 8 students. And so I did not get in, obviously. You know, there were so many people who had been doing it their whole lives. And so then I was between University of Colorado Denver because my cousin went to Boulder and I'm a super big fan of Colorado. It's
Yeah,
super
Boulder is
cool.
sick. Oh,
Boulder's awesome. I actually like I stayed with my cousin there for like a month a couple summers ago, and it was dope. It's such a cool place. So I was between that, and then I was between Belmont, and I actually was very much leaning towards going to Colorado because I just had loved it so much. And I almost didn't apply to Belmont. I applied the night before the last due date for transfers, and I was just like, whatever, like I'll just apply. And then I visited here and I met up with Matt because Matt and I actually went to high school together, which is super weird.
whoa, no
So
way.
yeah, so we went to high school together and he graduated before we could get like super close. And so then when I came to Nashville, I like texted him because I knew he had been going to Belmont, and I was like, hey, can we meet up for coffee and stuff? And so we just kind of talked about everything, and he's like, okay, well, I'll see you in September. And I was like, oh, I haven't made a decision yet. He's like, no, you're gonna come here. And so I was like, okay. And so basically, yeah, I just decided on coming to Nashville, and I am so grateful that I made that decision because, like, obviously I met Matt again, or like became actually really close with Matt, and then got to work with him, and then just the people I've met here. I
Yeah, right.
They're super dope, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. What happened when you moved here to till this point today? Like, what has that process been like? Have you been working specifically on like these songs and this like Seint Monet? Did you know, has that name been with you the whole time, or is this like been a more recent endeavor?
It's definitely super recent. So when I first moved here, I was not sure whether I wanted to be an artist or a songwriter. And so I was just kind of I was just writing songs because that was what I had been doing before. And I didn't really know how to go about the artist part of it. And so my biggest thing when I first moved here was to just meet everyone. So immediately when I got to Belmont, I took an internship at BMG and I met some like really awesome people. And then the next summer, I ended up working there full time because the creative assistant was pregnant, so she was on pregnancy leave. So I got to work full time at BMG, which was super cool.
Oh,
Yeah, I got to meet awesome people first off, and second, like learn so much. And it was like really nice to just put what I had been learning at Belmont into like action, basically. And so I was just like loving the business side of it. But as much as I love the business side of the music industry, the more I did it, the more I realized that the creative side is like where I want to be. And so I was like continuing to write songs, but I had like the common fear of showing anybody anything that I was doing. And so I like it wasn't until like a couple months ago where I was like more out like forward about the fact that I was pursuing artistry. And like looking back now, I'm glad that it took me so long because I feel like I'm at the right headspace to be pursuing everything that I am. But also,
right.
if I like, I wish I could just go back to my like self literally 2 years ago and be like, stop being afraid because it's so stupid, but it's understandable too. But yeah, like Seint Monet was literally developed like a year ago when Matt and I started working together. And then all of these songs were like the songs that I've been putting out, the the most recent two, Bloom and 32 Degrees, were written in February on a retreat that me and Matt held. And so 4 out of the 6 songs that are going to be on the upcoming EP were written in February. And then the other two were written like 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Wait, so
Mhm.
a retreat? What does that?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Is that something that you said you put together?
Yeah. So like I said before, I was originally going to put out something in December, but then I was like, okay, let's just hold off. And then Matt and I were talking, and we had been juggling this idea of like hosting a retreat for my project for a little while. And so I just texted him out and I was like, listen, let's hold off on this song. I was like, let's try to actually like make this retreat happen. And so it was, yeah, so we had it at my shore house in Jersey, which was super cool. It was in the middle of February, so like no one was there and the weather was like pretty cold, but it was
Wow.
it was just super nice because it was like empty.
What is a
And
shore house? Does that mean you're on the shore like of
it's
the beach?
yeah, so it's like it's a shore house is like just a house that's like down the shore at the Jersey Shore. So my house isn't. I
That's
mean,
sick.
there are so many cool houses there that are like on the water, but they're like millions of dollars and everything. But it's just like near the ocean. Like you can walk to the ocean, and it's just
Cool.
it's not somewhere that you would stay all year round, I would say.
Right.
But so yeah, we
That's
helped.
so cool. And y'all hung
It,
out there and just wrote songs.
yeah, it was so crazy. So we ended up getting like, it's we're not supposed to say sponsored, so it's, I guess, like we got a favor from Red Bull, and they sent us like almost 200 cans of Red Bull. And
I've done a similar thing. I like emailed them. They gave me like a bunch of
yeah,
Red Bull one time for a tour.
it's crazy. That was actually, I had never tried Red Bull before. And so that was the first time I tried it. And we had like the original, but then we also had the yellow ones, the like fruit ones. And
Yeah.
I did not like the original, but then I was like, okay, I'll just try the yellow ones. And I
Yes.
loved the yellow ones so much. But I wish there was a video of this because it was like 5 o'clock and I like drank a yellow one and I was like, for some reason I was under the impression that as soon as you drink one, like you're supposed to be like bouncing
Oh
off the
no.
walls and stuff. So I was like,
Oh,
okay, this isn't working. So I drank another one and they were like the full ones. And then I still didn't feel anything. So then I had two more and I was 4 Red Bulls within the time span of like half an hour. And so I remember like walking out to Matt and being like, hey, these don't work at all. What do we do? Like, these don't work. And I was just talking and talking, and he was like, Colleen, you don't understand how fast you're talking right now. He's like, we have to cut you off from this. This is ridiculous. It was literally like, it was so weird. Like, it went from
oh
zero
no.
to 100. But I've learned my lesson. I love Red Bull now, though.
Yeah, my bass player Trevor drinks a yellow Red Bull before every show. I've never tried it, but he says it's like the best.
It's like it's dangerous because it's like actually good. Like it
Yeah,
tastes
right.
good, you know?
Yeah, totally.
That's where it gets dangerous. Is if
They
you
you're right. It doesn't hit you immediately, but the time span that it does hit you is like for instance, I'm drinking coffee right now. I drink a cup of coffee every day, and that slowly kind of like
yeah.
hits you. But Red Bull, it doesn't hit you at first, and then when it
Mm-mm.
does, all of a sudden you just go off.
Dude, it was so crazy because like obviously like if you want to have a Red Bull or like more than one Red Bull, you should do it at the beginning of the day so that by the time night comes you can sleep. But I obviously didn't do that and I drank like these Red Bulls at 5 o'clock. And so I remember like we were in a session and it was it was around 2 a.m. and I was still going, ready to go, and everyone else was like, Colleen, like, we don't mean to be mean, but we really just can't understand what you're saying. So we're gonna call it quits on this session. And then
Oh no.
I remember laying down and just being like, I like could run a marathon right now. Like I can't sleep at all. So I just like pulled an all-nighter that night and I've learned my lesson, but moral of the story, drink Red Bull in the morning.
So what was that like? Like,
Yeah.
what were y'all doing every day? Were you just having a few sessions and taking breaks and maybe walking by the shore or whatever, just like hanging out?
I mean, it was honestly, we, when Matt and I were planning everything, our goal was to have 7 songs, I think, and then like 4 demos. And then it was a 4-day trip, not even, because we flew in one day, had two full days, and then another day we had was like kind of a half day. So it wasn't even like a 4-day trip. And we wrote 18 songs and got I want to say like 15 demos done, which was super
Wow.
awesome because
Wow.
we had 2 producers there. One is my friend Jordan from Jersey, who is also an artist, and then the other one was John Luke Lewis. I don't know if you know him, but
I don't
he
know if I do.
he produced Bloom and then is a co-producer on 32 Degrees, and he also produced 2 other songs that will be on the EP. So he is
Cool.
someone that I work with a lot. But
Does he live here?
he does. He lives here. Yeah.
I'll have to write down his name. That's cool. I hope I get to meet him someday.
Yeah. He honestly he works with a lot of artists, and he's just been like on so many projects recently. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely check him out. He's super cool. But yeah, so we got so much done within that time. It honestly, we it was just like wake up and start writing. And then, we also got HelloFresh to send us like meals for the weekend. And so we like, which was
That's
nice
sick.
because, it was like we weren't just eating crap the whole time. And so we would like, we'd wake up, figure out like the writing groups and everything because we wanted to make sure that that we could get as many like different groups as possible. And so then we would like finish the song and then eat and then go into another session and then eat dinner and then do another session. And so there was one day where it was so, for some reason the weather was so nice out, so we did go to the beach because usually like at that time Jersey is really cold and like the beach is miserable because it's absolutely freezing, but it was just,
Yeah.
so it was really nice out and everything. So we went, and it was towards the nighttime actually too. So we had like a night trip to the beach and stuff. But yeah, it was just writing and getting to know each other because not everyone knew everyone else, and just just eating HelloFresh and chilling
Yeah,
with
right.
people.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that's really interesting. So when you think about writing
Hmm.
and let's say just like creating the music and the art that you make, do you see writing as being something that you think you'll continue to like set out intentional periods like that, like a retreat like this, as opposed to some artists that maybe try to write every day, they try to write for 30 minutes a day or something. For you, do you feel like it is more of a collaborative thing that you would like every certain period of time go and do that with a certain group of people to create the music for Seint Monet?
I mean, I had such a great experience at that retreat. I would definitely love to do it again. Like I very much love co-writing, especially with new people, just, to
Yeah,
see
right.
what we can come up with. But I mean, I also love writing for other people. As much
Really?
as like, yeah, I mean, my right now my focus is on this artist project just because it's so new and I'm just, want to like know that I've done everything I can to, you know, make it successful. But I also, my friend Nicole Bobian, who I met at Belmont, she is a fantastic writer and she was on the retreat, and her and we write like several times a week, and sometimes it's for my project, sometimes it's for someone else, and sometimes it's just to write. And recently we um we actually, we were just in a session, and I don't know why, but we started writing a rap. And so we've written like,
No way.
yeah, so we've written
Cool.
like, it's really funny. We've written like a couple of raps. I want to say six now. And they've been being pitched to some pretty cool artists, which is really weird.
Wow.
I'm not sure if I'm legally allowed to say who it is, but we write them also with my friend Jason Lucretio, who is a Nashville artist too. But
Cool.
yeah, so I mean, I love
Wow.
writing for other people too. So I'm just trying to, I'm honestly like any way that I can create music and simultaneously, maybe make money to survive would also be great. You know,
Yeah,
that's
totally.
cool.
That's cool. That's interesting that you, wow. I'm very interested in the idea that you love the writing process. However, you seem to have like a really like specific idea for this project, and because of that, it seems in every aspect, including the songwriting for this project specifically, you wanted to be intentional about like creating a team that could
Yeah,
help create this specific sound, even though you do write all the time, but that's more for other projects. And
yeah.
also, I know your friend Nicole, by the way.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's
Oh my
awesome.
gosh, you do because you're friends with Leah, right?
Yeah, I'm friends with Leah.
Yes,
Totally. Leah
yes,
Leach.
yeah. They're
Yeah. Yeah, they
shout
live
out to them.
together.
Yeah, they do. I know. I want her to have a karaoke night. I kind of told her that I would be hosting one at her house. So See you there.
That sounds fun. That would be awesome. That's
Yeah.
so cool that y'all been writing and also pressing into some rap music together.
Yeah.
That's and I do, yeah, I think that's really fresh. And I think your perspective, I'm interested in your perspective because I feel like you just, the way that you have embraced this project, I'll say is different than a lot of the artists I see in Nashville. And I think you are a little bit more intentional about creating this idea. You're like willing to take more time and willing to be more intentional, like with this retreat on the songwriting, going to Daniel and to Kat, and creating visuals. I just think your whole approach, and even like finding like I know he's a friend of yours, but having management like right from the get-go, I just think you have a very intentional way of doing things that I think is really admirable and special too. It's unique.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're like, it's definitely like everything we've been doing is meant to be intentional. And I mean, we think through every decision, like, we talk through it like a million times before we go ahead with it, just because we just we just want every aspect of this project to be cohesive. And it's kind of like I said, like Lady Gaga with Chromatica, like it's basically she created a universe, and so that's kind of our
Right.
intention too, is to create a universe of like Seint Monet where it's music, branding, visuals, you know, performance, and just art, fashion too, because it's super like the brand is super inspired by high fashion, and so
That's right.
to
Yeah.
yeah, so we try to like incorporate that too. But it's funny, I remember like, oh, I remember when Matt and I first started working together, I'd been like getting the advice of like the industry from a bunch of people, and a lot of people told me that I didn't need a manager yet. But I feel like I had all these songs and all these ideas, and I hadn't really had any experience in like the creative side of the industry, and just didn't know how to go about anything. And then Matt was looking to like get more experience because he already had managed a few artists, and was like, he just knows what he's doing. I feel like he's one of those people who was born to be a manager. Like he is a manager
Right.
through and through. His personality is just like he could talk to anyone. And so it was just, I couldn't have done any of this without him, because when I had an idea but didn't know how to like execute it, he'd be like, okay, we're going to do this. And then it happened. Like all of these ideas I had were finally like happening. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool. Is I feel like one of the things that a lot of people maybe who shy away from like looking for management early on are afraid of, they have this like fear where they're like, I'm the artist, I'm here to express myself. And maybe they have a bigger fear of like collaboration, and especially with management, someone else telling them what to do. But it sounds like you have a special relationship with your friend because y'all both came from Rockaway, and it feels like it's a pretty healthy relationship, which I think everybody, if they can, having a manager that is like somebody who respects them and you respect that person, really can help you when you want to just focus on creating, because you don't want to focus on penciling in everything and sending out all the emails. I mean, that's laborious work that I don't think most artists want to do, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Matt and I, it's funny because a lot of people say don't work with friends, but I feel like Matt and I are very good at knowing when our conversations are friend or business, you know?
Hmm.
We're also like, we are so straight up with each other about everything. Like we don't hide anything. If we don't like something, we'll just be like, I don't like that idea. And I also think being from Jersey helps because we don't really get as easily offended, because, you know, being from Jersey, everyone there's kind of an ass. And so you kind of have to like, you kind of have to have that thick skin,
Right.
and that straight up attitude. And so I feel like that's definitely played in our favor. But I mean, you know, obviously there are some managers out there who don't have as good intentions as like say Matt would, or you know, other good managers. But I think in terms of like wanting to like have control over your artist project, I think that's valid. But I also believe that, you know, having a manager is just a new perspective on yourself and your music. And, you know, sometimes there's times where I'm like, oh man, like I'd really love to do, you know, something like a song in this style. And he's like, we can, but hold off on it. You know, like there's everything is very calculated because, you know, there obviously every song that I release, like I love, like I wouldn't release a song I didn't love, but there is like a reason why these are the songs that we're releasing instead of like other ones that we have in our repertoire. And it's, you know, it's very much, I think I wouldn't have done that if he wasn't my manager, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having somebody who is focused primarily on like working on the paths and the doors while you can just stay inside the room and just create. You can
Mm-hmm.
throw everything into it because you know that somebody else is going to be there to help refine and help um, just make sure everything like runs smoothly, and creates perhaps helps you connect what you're doing with the language of like the business, and just helps it be something that people can understand as fans and as a following.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, also like Matt as a manager, his company is based around like the well-being of artists, which I think is something that like obviously, you know, the industry can be like crazy at times. And you know, to have a manager who's like, your mental health is as important as the music you're putting out is super important,
Yeah,
you know, because I mean,
that's true.
even even as like an independent artist who like not many people know, like, you know, the pressures are there definitely.
Totally.
So yeah.
They really are. Do you think that being in Nashville, or maybe in LA, New York as well, do you feel like there's a lot of social pressure? Like you said, when you arrived, you're around a lot of artists. Do you feel like the music defines you in certain ways, even just as a human, when you're going throughout your day to day? Or do you feel like you're able to kind of separate Seint Monet from who you are and have them
I
be in
feel,
separate worlds?
yeah, I mean at the moment, because this project is everything that I'm working on, it's very much intertwined with my daily life because of the fact that like it's still in motion, we're still releasing, we're still creating. But I mean, I feel like when I first moved to Nashville, I definitely felt the pressure of proving myself to people just because, you know, of the fact that as much as we're all like in this together, it's also we can't control the fact that the industry is so cutthroat, you know?
Totally.
So it's
Yeah.
there's always going to be that pressure there, but I think once you start releasing, you realize like I just need to like kind of put on blinders a little bit. Like obviously you can be inspired by artists because there are so many artists here and in LA and New York that are still at the same stage that you are, where you should like be looking to them and be like, what are they doing that's working, what isn't? But also, you know, you don't want to get into that whole world of completely comparing yourself, which is what I
Yeah.
did for a while. And that's unhealthy. You don't want
Yeah.
to get into that, you know? And it's hard not to, but you know, at some point you got to be like, I'm not doing what they're doing because I am not them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're in Nashville or just anywhere. I mean, online, on Instagram, wherever, you're going to find people who are throwing themselves 100% in certain directions. And I remember when I first started doing music, I had a friend who was really successful on YouTube. And I remember talking to my band in high school and being like, oh, should we like get into YouTube? And then
Yeah.
it's like you see someone else who is killing it by like only doing covers. And then you have to be
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, wait, like I don't want to only do like
Yeah.
you see people have success, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, should I be mimicking that? But then you have to, like, as you get older and grow as an artist, realize what is my intention with my art, and what am I trying to accomplish, and like
Yeah.
also just being generous with the fact that, like you said, your health and like taking care of yourself has to come first, and at the end of the day you can't do everything. So just using your time in artistry like effectively, but then also knowing when to take a break, you
It's,
know?
oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely knowing when to take a break. Like, especially from social media. As like I'm a huge fan of Instagram just because I love photography, and I just love, you know, it's a great way to connect with people, but
Totally.
it's also, as great as it is, it's super, you know, you can go down that rabbit hole and it can be
Mhm.
unhealthy because obviously Instagram is not complete real life. Like, even I know, like, my Instagram is like everything that I post is about my artist project, but like that's not my, you know, real life. That's my artist, you know, persona. And
Right.
so, you know, it's just at some point you just gotta like be like, okay, I gotta log off because it's so easy. Even if you're like, even if what you're doing is like being is successful and everything, it's still like, I feel like even the most successful people can still go down that rabbit hole and be like, oh man, I should be doing more, you know?
Yeah. If
Which is,
anything, I think it gets worse. Like the more success I've had as an
yeah.
artist, the weirdly, I thought that these feelings would go away, and they've actually just gotten worse. Where I feel even more, uh, you know, tendencies to be maybe competitive or like more
Mhm.
so just insecure about my own music and art. I'm like, oh, I need to be doing. I'm
Yeah.
probably boring everyone on social, you know, and it's just like getting out of control. It can be out of control how hard you can get on yourself, especially through social media if you're not careful.
Oh yeah, it's so
Um,
true. Even just the amount of likes and stuff. You're like, why did this
yeah,
post not
totally.
get as many as the other one? And
Yeah, yeah, right. And so much of that's even just out of our control. Even if you literally post at the right time of day and
it's
day
so
of the
true.
week, it's just it might still just not work. You know, there are things outside of our control. That being said, your Instagram is fresh. You've got a lot of cool pics. Is Daniel and Kat the one that took those pics as well? Have you worked with Mika and Sophia as well on this shoot or no?
I I haven't. I've
Oh,
actually
cool.
I've heard of Sophia. Kat talks about her a lot,
Yes.
but I haven't.
They're like best friends with each
Okay.
other. All four, Mika and Sophia Mateen, they're just recently married and just a really inspiring duo in town who do a little bit of everything from film and photography to styling and creating
Okay.
jewelry. Just
Ooh.
inspiring people that I think you would love to meet, and I'm sure they'd love to meet you.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
so I guess to finish out, what's on the horizon? You said you've got maybe two more singles and then an EP.
So I have one more single, and I'm about to announce it. It's coming out on September 17th, and it's more of a like 90s ballad kind of thing. So
Whoa,
it's super,
cool.
yeah. So again, like kind of a different path than the other two, but still cohesive. And then the EP comes out on the 25th, and the singles will be on it, and then there will be 3 new songs.
That is awesome.
Yes.
Cool. Are there any other like visuals coming out?
There might be some more music videos, there might be merch.
Ooh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that. Best way for people to stay connected, I guess, is find Seint Monet on Instagram.
Yeah,
Um,
Instagram, Facebook are the most like updated. There will be a website, but right
cool.
now those are the ones, yeah.
And then you've got two songs that are available anywhere that people stream.
And then music
Um,
videos for both of them.
yeah, music videos on YouTube. Seint Monet, look it up if you Seint Monet.
Mhm.
It's fresh. I love both of the songs you put out so far. And I'm so glad in the last month that I've been able to discover what you're doing. I appreciate you taking time to come talk to me today. It's been really cool. I feel like I've learned a lot from you. So
Dude, thanks. This was amazing. I love this. Yeah.
yeah, hopefully we'll get to sing some karaoke soon.
Oh,
Get to hang out.
it'll happen. It'll happen.
Yeah, I wish you all the best and your team as well. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks again.
Thank you. You too.
No problem. See you later.
See ya.
Bye.